This is the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session, a weekly recap of your 2023 Phillies. Broadcasting live from Chickies and Pete's. Tonight's show is brought to you by Team Toyota, BCWSA, Fogo de Show, Independence Blue Cross, and Capital Grill. Now, here are your hosts, Phillies PA announcer Dan Baker and Tommy Greene.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session at the flagship Chickies and Pete's at 15th and Packer. Boy, there's been a lot of great events in this establishment, and you've got the Bull Session today, and we've got a terrific show for you. Let me first start off, and of course we're on WBCB 1490 AM, 107.3 FM. And also, of course, we're live streamed, and you can hear this anywhere in the world at www.wbcb1490.com. My co-host today, in the history of Phillies baseball, there have only been 13 no-hitters ever tossed by Phillies pitchers. And one of them is number 49, Tommy Greene.
Well, thank you very much, Dan. I loved hearing that voice. Makes me feel like I can still go on the mound and do that, but that would be incorrect. I can't do it no more.
I'll never forget that no-hitter in 1991 up in Montreal. And ladies and gentlemen, here's something else to think about. Since the Phillies started in 1883, Mike Flaherty tells me there have been 2,175 people that have worn a Phillies uniform. Is that right, Mike? Of all of those people, no one has worn a Phillies uniform for more years than our special guest today. 12 years as a player, 13 years as a coach, 4 years as a manager. I've got some more stuff to tell you, but let's get them on as quick as we can.
Don't give away his age.
Number 10, shortstop Larry Bowa.
Hey, Bo.
All right.
Welcome aboard,
Thank
Bo.
you. It's nice to be here
Don't
today.
give away his age now. He's a young
really,
man.
Don't give him, I didn't realize that about the in uniform. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, but nobody.
I guess if you stay around that long, you get.
And I was fortunate. You talked
was a
about a
lot of
no-hitter.
milestones.
He was there today. Through mine.
Here's what else I'll tell you. Larry has been in baseball for 58 years.
Wow.
39 with the Phillies.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
The Phillies basically, Dan, is this is home for me, obviously, from California, but once I signed here, I never went back. I go back to visit relatives, but this has been home, and the city's been great. The Phillies have been great. I wish we'd have had about 8 or 9 more championships, but, you can't get greedy.
Well, this city fits you, Bo.
I love this city. It's
the
a blue
mentality, who you are, the way you go about your business. You always, even as a coach, and what I saw you as a player growing up, it fits you. Yeah.
You know what, Tommy? And I look at it as a blue-collar city, and these people get up early in the morning and they go to work, they come home late at night. And I try to tell these young kids when I go around, if you guys give effort every time you put that uniform on, I'm not going to say they're never going to boo you, but over the course of a season, you're going to win them over. If you show them that you care and you're giving 100% every time you put the uniform on, that's really,
they're going to love you.
That's all these fans want.
Yep.
And when you start shortcutting them and not running hard or taking things for granted, they're going to let you know about it. And you know what? That's how it's supposed to be. That's how sports are supposed to be played. Give everything you have. And there's going to be good days, there's going to be bad days. And you just got to hope the good ones outnumber the bad ones. That's all.
I want to give our audience, our live audience at Chickies and Pete's, and our audience watching and listening at home, here's something else to think about. Larry had over 2,000 hits, I think about 2175 or something like that.
Wow.
Of course, everybody knows that he's won a couple of Gold Gloves, 4-time All-Star. And here's something that I think is really neat. Think of all the shortstops that have ever played baseball. And Larry is still a number of years after his retirement in the top 20 as far as fielding percentage. You know how good you are with the glove.
That's outstanding.
He's 17th. Two of the people in front of him who didn't have as many innings, Jimmy Rollins is 4th, but Larry mentored Jimmy, and Freddie Galvis is 3rd. Larry, how about discussing your fielding prowess, and tell us about Jimmy Rollins and Freddie Galvis fielding.
You know what, guys? They were two great individuals. They were willing to go out and work, do extra work. You know, a lot of times I think coaches get more credit than they deserve. The fact that I took them out, I respect that part of it, but they were willing to work. And when you get guys that are willing to work, whether it's 8:30 in the morning in spring training or coming out early before a baseball game here, at that time at the Vet and now Citizens Bank Park, I take my hat off to those guys because, you know, the season's it's a grueling season. It's long.
It's a grind.
And when a guy's going a little bit bad and you say, hey, Jimmy or Freddie, let's go out and take some extra ground balls. Not one time did neither one of those guys say, no, I don't want to, I'm tired. They were always willing to go out. So I take my hat off to both of them for their work ethic. You know, sometimes Jimmy comes off a little aloof, but this kid worked as hard as anybody. And Freddie Galvis is a natural out there. You can put him anywhere. And I'm just proud that I was able to help those two guys, but it was mostly Jimmy and Freddie that did all the grunt work and everything, and they got rewarded for it by being that high on that list.
And also, they're lucky to have somebody they can bounce stuff off in you, because that's the way you went about your business too.
Well, you know what, Tommy, and I really believe this, and you can appreciate this. I think baseball is such a sport where when you put in a lot of time, the whole idea is as you get towards the end of your career, you pass all the knowledge you have down to the young kids. You're a pitcher, and if you see something on a pitcher, a young kid that you can help out, maybe he doesn't want that advice, but you could sound it off of him.
Yeah.
He wants to use it.
He can pick and choose what he wants.
Exactly, and I think that's the good thing about baseball is everything you learn, you try to pass down and keep it going, and that's how this thing sort of evolves. And the more you can do that with young kids, and like I said, they might not want to hear any of it, or they'll listen and they say, you know what, I like one or two things he said, but the other things I don't like. That doesn't bother me. But if you can help some kids, I think that's the bottom line.
The bottom line, I mean, as a coach, I know I've done a little bit, you know, like a little bit of coaching like young and Legion ball and young, and I was in independent ball too. I think the most rewarding part to me, I wanted to see what you thought, seeing the light go on.
Right.
When you give them something that you're seeing, and they were like, oh, you know, they got that aha moment a little bit.
Right.
I could be better. You know.
No question.
There's nothing better about that. You know, I think that's what makes coaching so great and rewarding.
I think the other thing, you know, the generation now today, they want that instant gratification. And
you reckon?
And you know, when I was with Jimmy and Freddie, whether I was teaching a backhand or something, maybe it didn't work the first couple games or the first week or 10 days. But give them credit. They stuck with it. You know, today's generation, not all, but some, if it doesn't work that first game, they don't want any part of it. You know, if you're trying to help somebody fielding and say he makes an error on a backhand that it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Change is hard.
It is hard. But, you know, I try to tell these guys when you're coaching them, we're not getting on you. We're trying to make you get to another level. And it's called constructive criticism. And a lot of these young kids think that you're berating them and you're embarrassing them. And the bottom line is we've already played. My career's over. I'm just trying to help you get from point A to point B.
And be the best that you can be.
Yeah, exactly. So, but again, they're not all like that. There's some kids right now in our minor leagues that I really like, and I see a lot of progress in the organization, in our minor league system. It hasn't been like that in the last 3 or 4 years, but I see this year some kids really starting to mature a little bit.
Which kids do you like the best, Larry?
I really like Rojas in center field. He
can fly, can't he?
Oh, he can fly. Clearwater has a lot of kids. Crawford, the number one pick, he's hitting well over 300. They have a shortstop down there that's playing well. And, you know, we still have Abel and Painter. I know Painter's on a rehab. But those two guys got big league arms, and it's just a matter of time before they're. But there's a lot of young kids Dan, that are really starting to get it. And, sometimes it takes a little while for everything to click in. And with all the analytics and everything that we are giving these kids, sometimes it's overload. I try to tell them, keep it simple, guys. Go out there.
Kiss.
You can take so much info, but once you get in the batter's box, it's you against him. If you're on the pitching mound, it's you against that hitter. But I think sometimes we inundate these guys with so much info that their head gets clogged up. This is a hard game to play, believe me.
And that brings back to a little bit of something John Vukovich, kind of talked me a little bit about that too much info. Remember we used to have the pitcher-catcher meetings in Jimmy's office back in the day? He'd run them. And we didn't have all the instant gratification where they sent the hard copies in, like paperwork, Hank King and all those bad scouts did, right? I'm pitching that day. Vuk has me on the board because he put the lineup that Jimmy gave him on the board, and I'm sitting behind Jimmy's desk on the floor. And then after we go through everybody, we start to file out, and Vuk looks at me and says, "Greene, you pitching today?" He knew it was.
Yeah.
He'd do it that way every time. And it happened to me. He says, "Yeah." I said, "Yes, sir, yeah, I am." He says, "Forget about everything we just said. High fastballs, hard sliders, go get them, don't think."
Right. Stay with your strengths.
Stay with your strength. Do what you do. And, and that's coaching, knowing your guys.
Right.
Knowing who can deal with stuff. Like Schilling was more analytical and that stuff. And me, which I didn't need to clutter. I needed, if I accomplished what I threw the ball where I wanted to throw it, I had a pretty good chance of having success.
You had a real good chance. If you kept the ball down with a fastball and then elevated when you wanted to, got the breaking ball over.
Yeah, it's game on.
But what happens is, you go through these meetings, Dan, and the guy will say, "Oh, this guy's a great fastball hitter." And he's a good fastball pitcher. That means you don't throw it. That means you got to locate it.
Yes,
that's all.
That's it.
But again,
I don't get that. I've seen too many
different now.
We were talking off air about Walker a little bit, and I'm not getting. I remember the first few games of the year. I was like, I don't even know if I saw him throw a fastball.
I know it's unbelievable.
It was unbelievable. I couldn't believe that. I just there's so much things going on. They're teaching new stuff, cutters, and which is fine. You use your tools. There's tools to be used, but
you got to stay.
God, there's so many tools. One tool is it can do multiple jobs.
Yes, it can.
So,
Tommy, you brought up the name of John Vukovich. Ladies and gentlemen,
God bless him.
One of the top coaches in Phillies history is Larry Bowa. Another one is John Vukovich. They're both from Northern California. They played together. They coached together. Larry, tell us about your good friend, the late, great John Vukovich.
He was my best buddy in baseball, not only in baseball, but off the field. Tremendous baseball mind.
Ooh.
But we go way back. We played against each other.
I want to hear some stories.
We played against each other in American Legion ball. And the one thing about Vuk,
so awesome.
Vuk used to really – he was a good hitter and everything, but he was a great fielder, third baseman. And it just so happened as he signed eventually and he progressed through the system, his hitting sort of tailed off. But he had such a great mind that everybody recognized that he'd be a great coach. I would have loved to have seen him manage because I think he would have been a great manager. But we go way back, and there's not a day that goes by that when I come to the ballpark, I think about Vuk. I think about situations that come up, and I look up and I say, "Vuk, what do you think about that?" And I know that some of these things are going on now. He's shaking his head. He's up there with Dallas Green saying, "What has this game come to?"
Oh, my God, I can imagine.
Vuk was a tremendous individual, and he had a lot to do with the team's success. When I was managing, when Tommy was the 93, when the Phillies went to the World Series, Vuk had a lot to do with a lot of that stuff.
Yes, he
was the manager of the year in the National League, a 21-game improvement to 86 wins from the previous year. So, Larry, what did you do with that team?
Well, when Eddie Wade hired me, he said that we have to change the culture down there. He says they're used to losing. And nothing against who the manager was, because the manager's a great manager now, but he didn't have anything to work with. I'm talking about Terry Francona. It was just a bad mix. And so, in fairness, that what Eddie did, he says, "Hey, we're going to have to change this whole culture here. These guys got to understand it's important to win in this city. They don't want to hear about rebuilding. They don't want to hear about any of that stuff." And so what I try to do is go down there and tell them how important winning is, what you have to do to win. You might not have the greatest team man for man that who you're playing against, but if you do little things, move runners, throw strikes, come in when you're out of the bullpen when you're supposed to, and get a tough hitter out with the bases loaded. it was just a matter of keeping the mindset in a positive direction.
Yeah, it's not okay to be.
It's mediocre.
Yeah,
not in this city. It's not okay to be mediocre.
You got to be striving to be something better.
And you know what, Tommy? We didn't have a great big payroll at that time, but we had a bunch of guys that scrapped and played hard. And the city sort of started to fall on. Those 4 years that I managed, we were over 500 every year. 1 year we were right in it till the end for the playoff spot. But it was fun, to see a team turn completely around. I think they lost 100 games a couple years in a row before I got here. And then all of a sudden we're over 500. And it sort of started that arrow upward. And then eventually in 08 they won a World Series. A lot of those guys that were on that team, I had them in 2001 through 2004. It's nice to see guys as they progress and start to gain confidence.
And mature.
And understand that they learn from their mistakes. But this is a tough city to play for because they don't want to be mediocre. This city wants winners.
Yes.
And that's why they're very disappointed in the way the Sixers played.
Yep.
They love the Eagles. They got to a Super Bowl, and they love the Phillies last year. And we're going to get on track here this year in Philadelphia, our baseball team, no question.
Right now, we have to pause for our first commercial break on this week's edition of the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session. When we come back, Tommy Greene is going to identify our Live Independence Blue Cross Live Fearless Phillies Player of the Week. Don't go away. We'll be right back with Larry Bowa, Tommy Greene, and me, Dan Baker, after this.
At Independence Blue Cross, we believe in giving you the tools you need to pursue your healthiest life. From premiums as low as $0 per month to health discounts and cash rewards, it pays to have coverage with Independence. With the strongest network of doctors and hospitals in the region and free 24/7 virtual doctor visits, you can feel confident that quality care is always within reach. Learn more about your coverage options at ibx.com.
If you're looking for a stylish and sophisticated fine dining experience, visit your Eddie V's Prime Seafood restaurant near King of Prussia. Eddie V's Seafood features an abundant selection of fine wines and curated cocktails to complement exquisite steaks and seafood made from the highest quality ingredients. In the V Lounge, sip on imaginative handcrafted cocktails with attitude while enjoying signature appetizers. Conveniently located between I-276 and I-76 near the King of Prussia Mall. Call them today, 610-337-7823 to schedule your night out for Eddie V's Prime Seafood.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
SEPTA offers a variety of career opportunities. Our core business is transit, and with 5 modes of service, we rely on and need operators, engineers, and conductors. But it takes a host of other specialties, including mechanics, electricians, plumbers, masons, painters, carpenters, welders, and more to keep the system moving. As an employee, you will earn competitive compensation and great benefits, including medical, dental, prescription, and a pension. Visit jobs.septa.org to apply today. That's jobs.septa.org.
During the Toyota Ready, Set, Go sales event, just imagine yourself in a new Toyota. Whatever you need, from an electric vehicle to a rugged, versatile truck, we have new Toyotas on the ground for immediate delivery. Or choose from over 100 certified used options, which undergo a rigorous inspection and include an amazing warranty. Plus service centers that can save you time and money and keep you on the road. So let's go to Team Toyota this spring. Just visit teamtoyota.net to find a location near you.
We now return to the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session. Once again, here are your hosts, Phillies PA announcer Dan Baker and Tommy Greene.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session. Wow, my goodness, I can hear Matt Miro, our assistant general manager, clapping over there. It's always nice to have some support from senior management. You're listening to the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session on WBCB Radio, 1490 on the AM dial and 107.3 on the FM dial. And we're glad to be with you. We're here every Monday during the baseball season. See this picture? For 14 years, Greg the Bull Luzinski was my co-host. He did a great job. This year, Greg goes back to Florida when the Phillies are on the road. Of course, we have his roommate here today, Larry.
Yeah, I want to hear about some of them times.
And we're going to give away this picture of the bull right now to Tom from Collegeville, Pennsylvania. Come on over here, Tom. There you go. Tom comes to a lot of the bull sessions. You're welcome, Tom. And we thank all of you for coming out today. We'll have a few gifts from time to time. Oh, my goodness. The Foremans are always here. Ellen, did I see Jack today? Okay, Jack, good to see you. And Mark Weissner, Mike Flaherty, and all the good folks here. We thank you all for coming. Of course, you're with one of the Phillies' all-time greats, a member of the Phillies Wall of Fame. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of people in that Wall of Fame, but one of them is number 10 shortstop Larry Bowa. Yeah.
Don't that make you feel younger?
Yeah, it does.
I know it does for me.
You know who I think enjoys hearing his name called? Steve Carlton.
Oh, yeah.
He always gives me that, points over, and it reminds him. Of course, I was able to. Steve came in 1972. That was my first year with the Phillies. 27-10
with a bad team.
He won.
What did we win? What did we win? 58?
58 or 59. He won 27.
That's impossible to do.
Yeah.
But you know what? Looking back on that, people ask, why did you guys play so well when he pitched? Because we were a young team, Dan, and we knew that when he pitched, if we got 2 runs, we'd have a good chance of winning.
Yeah.
Whereas nothing against our rotation, but it wasn't a great rotation. We'd have to get 5 or 6 a night.
Yeah.
We just weren't able to do that at our young age. But every time Lefty, his favorite line when he walked in the clubhouse, this is all he would say on the day he pitched. Today's win day, boys. And he kept walking, and everybody would go, well, we better win today.
Yeah. Now, I've heard over the years there's some stories. Was there anything like with you and Lefty, like you coming up to the mound at shortstop?
Oh, yeah.
From short, I want to hear about that. I've never heard it from you.
You know, when I first came up, I mean, I was still young, and Carlton had pitched a few years. And, normally because we were young and everything, the guys that were pitching came up through me, and so when things got a little hairy, I'd go to the mound and, say, hey, everything's good, man, slow it down a little bit, get your arm up or something. So I started to come here, and I didn't even get to the mound. He's rubbing the ball. He goes, what are you doing? And I just looked at him. He says, you get back there and handle short. I'll handle the mound. I said, you got it. You got it.
Larry and Tommy.
Oh, that's class. I can see Lefty, but I can see the way you look, too.
Yeah.
I remember when Lefty got his 3,000th strikeout. He struck out the sides. I think it was against Montreal.
Yeah.
But I went up to him before the game. He's sitting at of course, this is at the vet. He's sitting at the far end of the dugout. And I went by and I said, I just want to be the first to congratulate you on getting 3,000. He goes, and I looked at him like, geez. And I said, I thought, oh, maybe he didn't hear me. I said, I just want to be. He said, I said, holy smoke.
Yeah,
and then the guards, the security guy said, Dan, he doesn't talk when he stays.
You talk about game face. When he has a game face on, nobody said anything to him.
Were him and Head in the same mold?
Oh, Dave, yeah. Very much alike. Very much alike.
Dave Hollins, you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mikey.
Yeah, those guys, when they get – and it's a little different when you play every day because you can't do that every day.
God, I don't know how Dave did it.
Either do I. But, when you pitch at that time, every 4th day, he had his game face was on. Nobody went near him. It was, hey, I got this. You guys do your job. I'll do mine. Let's get this thing over with. And he got it and threw it. And the numbers speak for themselves. He was a great pitcher, man. One of the greatest I've ever seen.
I mean, you talking game day. Like we talk about David again. It was like we knew we could go up to him. It's like it was a certain time. There was a cutoff every day.
Yeah.
It was
That's
every
hard
day.
to do that
Then
like
the
that.
switch went. I mean, the other guy showed up.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
It's hard to play like that when you're
Wow.
an everyday player.
Larry, I want to ask both you and Tommy to talk about your best years. And I'm going to assume we're talking 1980 and 1993.
Yep.
In 1980, ladies and gentlemen,
That was an unbelievable year.
Larry Bowa known for the great glove. We talked about he's still among the all-time fielding percentage leaders for Major League Baseball shortstops. Hit over 300 in the 1980 World Series. Larry, tell us about that NLCS versus Houston, and then the World Series win over Kansas City.
That might be the greatest series ever.
That series was, Dan, we had come close in 76, 77, 78, but we kept playing. Everyone says, oh, you guys choke and all that, but the teams we played were the Big Red Machine and the Dodgers. And those weren't pushovers. And it was whether it was a play, a pitch, an umpire's call, whatever it was, we couldn't get over the hump. Then finally in 80, and we had to go through big-time problems in 80. We had to go up to Montreal and win 2 out of 3 just to win. And that's hard to do up there because they had a very good team. Then once we won, every game against Houston was extra innings except the first game. And then to beat Nolan Ryan in Game 5 when he had a lead, 5-2.
And who started that?
I got a hit. But
you're the man.
but the thing is, if you go look at his wins and losses when he has a lead going in the 7th inning, his winning percentage is off. You just didn't beat him. But once we got done with Houston, I really felt, and I know I talked to Bull about this and Schmitty and Booney, there was no pressure on us. It was like, we got to the World Series. And we probably had more fun. Yeah, we probably had more fun in the World Series than all the playoff games that we were in and everything. It was just like somebody lifted a big weight off our shoulders.
That's awesome.
I have to tell you this. I've been the Phillies PA announcer for 51 years. I've been a Phillies fan since 1954. The greatest play I ever saw by a shortstop was Black Friday, 1977. Davey Lopes hits the ball. It goes off Mike's glove. Normally a ball that Mike might have handled.
Right.
Of course, the greatest Philly of all time, number 20, Mike Schmidt. Larry Bowa barehands the ball in the third base shortstop hole. Throws in one motion to Richie Hebner, who stretches. I think you got Davey Lopes by half a step.
Yeah, we did.
Bruce Fleming anticipates safe. He probably figured one of the fastest runners in baseball.
Not Fleming.
Balls in the hole. No human being can throw him out like that.
That's exactly what he thought. There's no question in my mind. And Davey hit the ball real hard off Schmidt's glove. I was going that way because the ball was hit, and it happened to be in the air, and I knew I couldn't catch it with a glove because Davey's going to be by the bag. But I got it all in one motion. And to this day, I see when I was in uniform, Bruce lives in Milwaukee, and every time we play the Brewers, he'd be at home plate, talking. And I said, hey, Bruce, you blew the call. And he goes, no, I didn't. And I said, you did. I said, it's okay to admit it. You blew the call. And he goes, the only thing I'm going to tell you is you made that a lot closer. He says, because Davey, as you said, was one of the fastest guys in the league. And he says, once Schmidt didn't catch it, I figure there's no chance.
Right.
And he says, and I said, that's why you anticipated him. Yeah. If they had instant replay, that might have been another World Series for us. That was a big play.
You underestimated that cannon you had over there, didn't you?
Tommy Greene.
Yes, sir.
1993.
Yes, sir.
Phillies are in first place from the first day to the last. You come within a Joe Carter walk-off home run of beating the Blue Jays to win the World Series. Tell us about it. You were 16-4.
Yeah.
Only 4 losses that whole season.
Well, I had a great time. I played on a great team. That the everyday players and the hitters, they knew how to play the game. They knew how to manufacture runs. They knew how to run the bases. They knew how to score. And we were one of the best at it that year.
Yeah, we were.
And so it made – the biggest move, I think, and Bowa, I won't never forget what he said, it was around the All-Star break when Kevin Stocker got called up at shortstop. It changed a lot of things that was happening on the defensive side of things over there.
Yep.
Because there's nothing like a pitcher being out there. I mean, it's not. We don't dwell on it, but it was like when there was a ground ball hit over there, we knew it was going to be caught. It's sort of like when Bo was playing.
Yeah.
If it was going to be the routine play was going to be made. And there wasn't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I was just fortunate enough to play along, and Bo was there. I mean, I had the best coaching staff I could possibly have to learn from because I grew up watching these guys, and to be able to be a part of that team and the type of guys we had, players on the team, and then the coaches on top of it.
Yeah,
Man, I had a blast.
Tommy probably remember when Stock got there. I got him aside and I said, hey, Stock, I don't care if you get a hit from
We
now
were all right there.
until
I heard it.
September. I want you to catch every ground ball. That's all we want you to do. And it just so happens he get close to 300.
He hit three like
He played
15.
unbelievable, but he caught everything. And at that time, before he got there, we weren't making plays that we should have been making.
Oh, yeah, we weren't making a routine play.
And then Stock got there and solidified the infield, and the rest was history. Our pitchers were outstanding. We had a great pitching coach. And, I know
we ham-and-egged it pretty good.
I know Mitch takes a lot of heat, but if it wasn't for Mitch, we don't get to the World Series.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a team it was a close-knit group. They policed themselves. They weren't afraid to get in each other's face. There's no question about that.
It made Jimmy's job pretty easy.
And I think that's what's sort of different now than back then. But there's a big reunion coming up this year.
Oh, yeah.
For the 93 team. That's going to be fun to go to.
Yeah, it's going to be good to see my friends, man.
And
God forbid we've lost a few of them.
Yeah.
That staff was led by Tommy Greene and Kurt Schilling, each of whom won 16 games.
Yeah.
And we'll be right back with the second half of today's Independence Blue Cross Bull Session after these messages.
At Independence Blue Cross, we believe in giving you the tools you need to pursue your healthiest life. From premiums as low as $0 per month to health discounts and cash rewards, it pays to have coverage with Independence. With the strongest network of doctors and hospitals in the region and free 24/7 virtual doctor visits, you can feel confident that quality care is always within reach. Learn more about your coverage options at ibx.com.
If you're looking for a stylish and sophisticated fine dining experience, visit your Eddie V's Prime Seafood restaurant near King of Prussia. Eddie V's Seafood features an abundant selection of fine wines and curated cocktails to complement exquisite steaks and seafood made from the highest quality ingredients. In the V Lounge, sip on imaginative handcrafted cocktails with attitude while enjoying signature appetizers. Conveniently located between I-276 and I-76 near the King of Prussia Mall. Call them today, 610-337-7823 to schedule your night out for Eddie V's Prime Seafood.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
SEPTA offers a variety of career opportunities. Our core business is transit, and with 5 modes of service, we rely on and need operators, engineers, and conductors. But it takes a host of other specialties, including mechanics, electricians, plumbers, masons, painters, carpenters, welders, and more to keep the system moving. As an employee, you will earn competitive compensation and great benefits, including medical, dental, prescription, and a pension. Visit jobs.septa.org to apply today. That's jobs.septa.org.
During the Toyota Ready, Set, Go sales event, just imagine yourself in a new Toyota. Whatever you need, from an electric vehicle to a rugged, versatile truck, we have new Toyotas on the ground for immediate delivery. Or choose from over 100 certified used options, which undergo a rigorous inspection and include an amazing warranty. Plus service centers that can save you time and money and keep you on the road. So let's go to Team Toyota this spring. Just visit teamtoyota.net to find a location near you.
We now return to the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session. Once again, here are your hosts, Phillies PA announcer Dan Baker and Tommy Greene.
Welcome back, everybody, to Chickies and Pete's. This is the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session. I'm Dan Baker, co-host Tommy Greene, one of a handful of pitchers to ever throw a no-hitter for the Philadelphia Phillies, and one of the greatest shortstops in baseball history, number 10, Larry Bowa. And guess what? You know, when Larry Bowa appears, we always get a big crowd. And we have a big crowd today. In fact, from Haddonfield, New Jersey, from Christ the King, here they are. All right, kids.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's the Pied Piper.
Yes, he is. They follow Bo everywhere.
So it's good to have you, kids. You're welcome. You're welcome. That was
That's awesome.
I went to Audubon. Haddonfield was one of our rivals. My kids went to West Deptford. Haddonfield's one of our rivals, and great community. And hey, we're here to talk Phillies baseball, but we had to acknowledge those wonderful children. And look at this wonderful crowd here at Chickies and Peace. Don't forget tonight, the Phillies host the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Yes.
And
it's first time this year, right?
Yeah,
they're playing.
I mean, first playing them.
Diamondbacks are playing pretty good baseball.
27-20.
Wow.
And so they've got a winning record. We're 2 games under 500 at the Phils, 22-24. That's a 6:40 start, by the way. 6:40 start tomorrow night, and then a 1:05 start on Wednesday afternoon. So the Phillies and the Phillies are coming off of a series win versus the Chicago Cubs. By the way, one of the other teams that Larry played for, and I sometimes think, Larry, in 1983, if you had been on this team, we might have beaten the Orioles in the world. That ball that skipped by Ivan De Jesus, I don't think he was as familiar with the vet turf as number 10.
It's a little bit different than playing at Wrigley. There's no question about that.
Oh, it's definitely high speed.
Yeah.
It's like playing on this table.
Everything's turned up a notch. It's like playing on the runway at the Philadelphia airport.
There was a kind of one of those line drives, half hop. Steve Carlton was on the mound. We were winning like 2-1, and that ball just went shoo.
Right.
It wasn't so much. Listen, Ivan De Jesus
he did a good job.
A good shortstop. Yep. He did a good job.
Wet, was it?
Not
No.
in the league with Larry Bowa and Jimmy Rollins, but you had to know how quickly that ball, and especially when the field was wet, which it was that night.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like I always, when it got wet, I'd say it's like marbles in a bathtub. Oh. I mean, the ball gets on you quick.
I couldn't imagine guys.
And you get the guys with some like Willie Stargell and Clemente and those guys that hit that top spin on those balls. The balls get to you real quick. Everyone says, "Did you it had to be easier playing on turf?" Not really. You've had to play deeper, and the ball got to you a lot quicker. But I always it was a big adjustment for me when after we played here. If we go to the West Coast, it was all grass, so I'd go out early.
Or go to Chicago.
Take ground balls and stuff like that. So, but it was fun playing at the vet.
Well, you're talking about the wet days. One of the games I remember was a huge impact, I thought, was Game 4 of the World Series in '93 when it was raining, mist and rain, cold.
Oh yeah.
And the turf was wet. I mean, it was everything. If it wouldn't hit at somebody,
it's a gapper.
It was a gapper.
Yep.
Yeah, if it got by, it's the infielder. It was unbelievable.
Yep.
It was unbelievable.
I thought Lenny Dykstra had a great year. One of the best years.
Yes.
Richie Ashburn was a great leadoff hitter. But that year that Lenny Dykstra had in 1993. However, in that 15-14 game that you're talking about, there was a fly ball to center that Lenny pulled, and he was terrific defensively too, but that ball can be caught.
Yeah,
but
he normally catches that.
But they told us that night. I mean, they'd come in and said, it's unbelievable what it's doing out there. You expect the ball not to carry like it was, but it was flying.
But you know what's amazing about that game, Dan, is Toronto, they pulled about 4 or 5 guys out of their lineup. We were beating them by a lot.
Oh, a lot. Yeah. We were way up there.
And I think, I'm not saying Lenny let his guard down, but there's a lot of stuff that happened there where mentally I think we thought, we got this.
We were up 13-6 at one time.
Yeah, and when you have that big a lead in a World Series, you very seldom see teams cough that up. Yeah. But then you can see things starting to unravel, and you're saying, this is going to go down to the wire here.
Larry and Tommy, there was another key play, I thought, in that game. Phillies already are leading by 4. Bases loaded. Darren Dalton crushes a ball. Just goes foul.
Right.
Then he hits a sacrifice fly. 1 run scores. If those 4 cross the plate, that game's over.
No question.
There's a lot of things that happened in that game.
It was a good series. There's no question about it. And
we were heading every ball game. We had a chance to win it.
Yeah, we did. We did. They had a real good team.
You reckon? You look at the top 3 hitters in the American League were 1, 2, 3 in their lineup.
Also, Tommy, in the bottom of the 8th in Toronto, David Montgomery and Bill Giles were nice to take my wife and me to Toronto.
This is Game 6 you're talking about?
Game 6.
Okay.
And the short, was it
I remember that.
Hernandez? Anyway.
Fernandez, the shortstop?
Yeah. There was a ball that I can't remember. He swung and missed. Anyway, they called it, I think, a foul ball. He might have missed it. But the umpire missed it also. That's before the days
instant replay.
Yeah. And that was another one.
I tell you what, for you being you remember a lot of big moments.
He remembers a lot.
Oh, I remember all of them.
I remember it because you know why? Guess who was up in the 8th inning down in the bullpen? Me and Mitch were.
Both of you?
Both. They got me up first because
I didn't know that.
We didn't know. They called Jimmy. They called down there and said, get Greene up because Larry was struggling. And they called back down. They said, if he does get Mitch up with him, he said, if he doesn't get this next guy, Greene's in. Because, I mean, and he got the next. And they called back down, Mitch is in. You know, that's the way it went.
Right.
I could have been in there.
Yeah, you could have.
Hey, folks, guess what? 32 years ago tomorrow, number 49, Tommy Greene, pitched a no-hitter
How about that?
over the Expos in Montreal.
Okay, I'll feel old.
32 years ago tomorrow.
I'll feel old.
So, now, listen, this year, Larry, here, when the Phillies acquired Trey Turner, it was written by a couple of writers that the two greatest shortstops in Phillies history are Larry Bowa and Jimmy Rollins, or Jimmy Rollins and Larry Bowa. And now they're going to be joined by a guy who could rival them, Trey Turner. And based on his performance in the World Baseball Classic, they were certainly right. But since then, Trey has hit a rough spot. There's no doubt when you look at what he did with Washington and L.A., this guy is a great baseball player. But
he is a great player.
Baseball gods got a strange way, don't they?
Yeah, they do. You know what, Dan? I really believe everything's going to be fine with him. And I said the same thing about Castellanos last year. When you come from a different organization and expectations are put on your shoulders to be the best ever at that position, it takes an adjustment period. You know, you can have all the spring training you want, but until they actually get in this environment, I mean, let's be honest. In Washington, the fan base, they come out, but they don't show their emotions. In L.A., they definitely don't show their emotions.
If you get them to show up before the fourth inning.
And in Philadelphia, that's an adjustment period. There's no doubt in my mind this guy's going to be a good player. He's going to live up to the hype and everything. He's going through an adjustment period now because once he gets rolling here, it's going to affect this offense so much people don't understand. He hasn't even began to start. He is a good player. He will get his feet on the ground here. And by the end of the year, everyone's going to say, I'm glad we signed this guy. I know he's going through some tough problems right now because I see swinging at balls that I've never seen him swing at.
Yeah.
I think he's trying too hard. You know, when you get a 10-year contract, 11, whatever it is, you know, you want to please everybody right away. And he's got to take a deep breath here.
Yes, exactly.
Back off a step and say, you know what, I got to be Trey Turner. I'm going to go out and do my thing. He's going to be fine. He's the least of my worries right now, believe me.
Yeah,
Tommy,
exactly.
was there ever a point in your career where you just felt so much pressure it made it difficult for you to perform?
No, I wish I had that problem as far as what Turner and them have. You know,
Yeah,
that 10-year deal.
Yeah.
I never had that, you know. But I still felt guilty. You know, I went through a lot of injuries, stuff like that, and you're still getting paid, and you're not able to go, you know, go out and perform. I took that to heart. I took that. It bothered me to the core, you know. And the person that made a difference in my life, it was two people really, but one was a coach of mine. Was my pitching coach, Johnny Padres, and he made sure he come up and told me, he said, don't you ever put pressure on yourself and feel like you're letting the team down or the organization down. He says, because you've made them more money than they can pay you. You know, from the previous year when they went to the World Series, he said, don't you even think. He said, you just do and try your best to get better because they're a better team with you. And it made That was a good coach because
He was a great
That
coach.
was a good coach right there. He recognized that something one of his players there were struggling, and I did struggle with it because it bothered me, and I took it to heart, and I said nobody's going to work harder than me, and that's one that I think I take pride in because I think everybody realized I worked hard at what I tried to do to try to be in the best shape and do the best I could.
Johnny Padres, who is the MVP in the World Series,
Oh, my God,
when the
he's
Brooklyn
beautiful.
Dodgers won their first and only World Series championship, beating the New York Yankees. I believe it was 55.
Yes, it was.
And Johnny Padres.
Great.
I wish I could throw his changeup, man, but I could never get
He was
it.
a great person,
Boy,
too.
they had some really good left-handers.
Oh, my gosh.
Sandy Koufax with
Actually,
Claude
yeah.
Osteen.
Yeah.
Man, oh, man.
And for
Hey,
him to get the MVP over those guys,
Yeah. We got to pause Don Drysdale on the right-hand
Yeah.
side out there. Not too bad either.
Yep.
We'll be right back with the final portion of today's Independence Blue Cross Bull session. And then, Tommy, we're finally going to get to the Phillies Player of the Week that I've forgotten to ask so far. Don't go away.
At Independence Blue Cross, we believe in giving you the tools you need to pursue your healthiest life. From premiums as low as $0 per month to health discounts and cash rewards, it pays to have coverage with Independence. With the strongest network of doctors and hospitals in the region and free 24/7 virtual doctor visits, you can feel confident that quality care is always within reach. Learn more about your coverage options at ibx.com.
If you're looking for a stylish and sophisticated fine dining experience, visit your Eddie V's Prime Seafood restaurant near King of Prussia. Eddie V's Seafood features an abundant selection of fine wines and curated cocktails to complement exquisite steaks and seafood made from the highest quality ingredients. In the V Lounge, sip on imaginative handcrafted cocktails with attitude while enjoying signature appetizers. Conveniently located between I-276 and I-76 near the King of Prussia Mall. Call them today, 610-337-7823 to schedule your night out for Eddie V's Prime Seafood.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
SEPTA offers a variety of career opportunities. Our core business is transit, and with 5 modes of service, we rely on and need operators, engineers, and conductors. But it takes a host of other specialties, including mechanics, electricians, plumbers, masons, painters, carpenters, welders, and more to keep the system moving. As an employee, you will earn competitive compensation and great benefits, including medical, dental, prescription, and a pension. Visit jobs.septa.org to apply today. That's jobs.septa.org.
During the Toyota Ready, Set, Go sales event, just imagine yourself in a new Toyota. Whatever you need, from an electric vehicle to a rugged, versatile truck, we have new Toyotas on the ground for immediate delivery. Or choose from over 100 certified used options, which undergo a rigorous inspection and include an amazing warranty. Plus service centers that can save you time and money and keep you on the road. So let's go to Team Toyota this spring. Just visit teamtoyota.net to find a location near you.
We now return to the Independence Blue Cross Bull session. Once again, here are your hosts, Phillies PA announcer Dan Baker and Tommy Greene.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Independence Blue Cross Bull session. That's my brother. You hear that clapping? That's Mark Weissner. Thank you for the great Luzinski autograph photo that Tommy from
Talking
Collegeville.
about Mark Weissner, I've known him since I've become a Philly. I mean, I was up here in 1990. I met him back there, so I've known him for, 32 years, Mark? Something like that? It's unbelievable. What a great guy.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, we got a lot of great people here. And, our official photographer, Ellen Foreman, is over there with her husband, Jack. Of course, you know that their daughter just graduated from medical school.
That's awesome.
University of Rochester. And a special citation, too. Tommy, tell us who is the Independence Blue Cross Live Fearless Phillies Player of the Week.
Okay, I was thinking about this over the course of last week, and I was having a hard time.
Yeah, we went through some tough times.
finding some positive things what was happening, but it kind of emerged with the game yesterday, because you look back and this a little bit of stats that I got are from an extra day, but I'm going to use it. You know, my pick is Bryson Stott. He come off the bench yesterday. He solidified that choice by that come off the bench, that 2-run homer. Reason why we won the game.
Yep.
I mean, it was a well-pitched ball game. He was the guy done. But over the course of the week, if you add his base hit, add his home run and his couple ribbies for the week, he had he had 6 ribbies. You know, he scored 4 runs. You know, had 9 hits, and I didn't add up his average, so he probably hit like 310, something like that, 309.
He's playing good. He's a good little player.
I tell you what do you think about him? Obviously, defensively, Bo, since he's came into the organization.
I think he's done a great job in making the adjustment from short to second. This kid's going to be here for a while, barring any injuries. He gives you great at bats. That was a big hit, like you said, Tommy, yesterday. We needed that.
We need something like that.
We do. And people don't realize that's a hard thing to do. Sit over there for 7 innings, and all of a sudden, and you're facing a guy throwing 95, 97 miles an hour.
I think it's an art. I mean, especially back in the day.
The mentality of it.
The pinch hitters back in the day.
Yep.
When we had the pitchers and stuff, it was a huge thing.
Right.
Guys who come off the bench. And
that's a hard job.
That's a hard job.
Yep.
So, Bryson Stott is our Independence Blue Cross Phillies Player of the Week. Before I forget, I want to remind you that next Monday, Bill Werndell will be pinch hitting for me, and Mickey Morandini, I believe Tommy is with
Mickey's,
Bill next week.
Yes,
another one of Tommy's teammates on the 93 National League champions, Phillies. And Milt Thompson will be our special guest next week from Chickies and Pete's in Glassboro. Our producer this week, as he is every week, the one and only Chris Ermer.
He's the man that makes it happen. He's the man.
And now,
Happy haircut, by the way.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, Chris Ermer will sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game."
Yeah, come on, Chris. Come on in.
I did that with Larry one time back in his playing days. He was getting some kind of an award that I was lucky enough to play a small part in. And then after he received it, and he waved politely to the crowd, I said, "Now, ladies and gentlemen, Larry Bowa will sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game."
And Bo was like this.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I did.
Boy. You know
You're
what,
like,
though?
Underneath the bus you go.
It's nice to have fun and be with people you really appreciate. Talking about Larry and his contributions to this organization, we talked about nobody's worn a Phillies uniform longer than his 29 years. My gosh.
And the fact that you said that hit on it, the effect that he's had on people. I know I can vouch because he had an effect on my life, my career. You know, the way you're supposed to play the game, and the things he brought to the table. Not because he wasn't a pitcher.
No.
But I talked to the hitters and the different thing about hitting. You know, I want to see what they think. So. A little bit. So you're bouncing stuff sometimes, you're sitting there. He's E.F. Hutton. That's the way I look at it. I sit there and listen.
He still is a special advisor to the general manager.
Well, he should be. He should be. They should listen to him, too.
You know what, Dan? There's a lot of good memories here in Philly. There's no question about it. And I will say this, not because Tommy's here. That was probably the best, as a coach, the best bunch of guys, because at the beginning of spring training, we were picked to come in dead last. Guys were on there towards the end. As
the Phillies did the year before,
right.
92.
Yeah, guys were coming in towards the end of their careers. And to see a team come together, because you knew they wanted to win. They were a veteran team that gone through the ups and downs of baseball, and to see that transpire over 162 games was a lot of fun, and we almost pulled off a miracle because no one picked us to be anywhere close to a World Series. And
that was what was so awesome.
It was a lot of fun that year.
I like being that underdog, man.
It was
a lot of fun. Breaks some people's hearts, man.
You know,
they didn't like coming in our joint playing that year.
No.
When the Phillies beat the Atlanta Braves to win the National League pennant at Veterans Stadium, Dave Montgomery asked me to go down on the field. He said, "When the players come out of the dugout, I want you to introduce them." So, as they came out, number 49, Tommy Greene.
That place was nuts.
Number 4, Lenny Dykstra. Pete Incaviglia.
Yep.
So forth. And Darren Dalton. Tommy Greene,
Yeah.
what made Darren Dalton such a great
Oh,
leader?
my God. I can't say enough great things about Darren.
Harry Tallis always said he was
pl-
the best
He
leader
led
ever
by
saw.
example. He played hard. He played hurt. And the way he went about his business, there was no ifs, ands, or buts or making excuses. He went out there and played, and he led by example, and he expected his teammates and the people to do the same. He led that way. He wanted us to be that mentality.
He wanted accountability from everybody.
Oh, and he got it
Yeah,
because he earned it, and that's the way he went about his business.
Yep.
Larry, when you
he made their job easy.
Yeah.
When you were the manager from 2001 to 2004, who was the best players leader when you were manager?
Wow, that's a good. I will say this: that people are probably going to raise their eyebrows, but he did it in a way that only he could do it. He wasn't boisterous, but he gave you that look. Scott Rowland was one of those guys.
I could see that.
Scott Rowland was one of those guys that if you didn't do something right, he gave you that look, and then if you did it again, it would be let's go downstairs and talk. He reminded me a little bit of Chase Utley. Not a lot of rah stuff, but they got their point across. There's no question about it.
And yet, you got two strong personalities.
Oh, yeah,
two
but
great
Dutch
players.
wasn't a boisterous guy.
I love Scott Rowland.
Yeah.
He played the game right. He's like Dutch. Obviously, he was a better hitter than Dutch, but people don't understand that Dutch went out there basically. I don't know how many operations he had on his knees.
9.
But to go down there and catch every day and squat the way he did and block balls, and you had to have his respect. And I think he had everybody's respect in that locker room.
And he was like Scott. And in fact, he wasn't boisterous.
No.
But when he said something,
You listened.
or he looked at you.
Yep.
Because I was down there by him. I was the only
Right.
pitcher they allowed down there.
We got to go. Sorry, Scott Rowland's going into the Hall of Fame
Yeah, he is.
this
Yeah, he is.
Great.
July. We'll be back. Bill Werndell, Milt Thompson, Mickey Morandini next week from Chickies and Pete's in Glassboro. See ya.